All right, so welcome to Social Listening for Richer Data and Structured Analytics. So please silence your cell phone. We are starting right now. And this is Paco Gonzalez. I'm a SolidQ mentor. I'm based now in Atlanta. I've been working for a long time in Europe for the last 10 years. I've been working with Microsoft Data Platform for the last 11 years and 9 years with SolidQ. I'm a conference speaker. I did speak at Past Business Analytics last year and the year before in Chicago. I'm also involved with the Past community, speaking at different SQL Saturdays around Georgia. I'm also the Past Big Data Virtual Chapter leader, so if you want to learn about big data, we have sessions every month, so make sure you go to bigdata.sqlpass.org and see what is going on there, and we also have a YouTube channel where you can watch all the previous recordings we did. So pretty much everything I do is business analytics. So I do ETL, I load data from sources into a data warehouse, then I build multidimensional models with analysis services or Power Pivot models with tabular models with analysis services or with Power Pivot, and then we start building reports. They could be traditional reports with reporting services or cool reports with Power View and Power Map. But pretty much all the projects I'm involved are for predictive analytics. I've been doing machine learning or data mining with SQL Server for a long time now, and we got different tools for doing predictive analytics, and you've probably seen a lot of them during this conference. Most of my customers, or some customers, are asking us, and this is like 10% of our customers at SolidQ, or even less. They're asking us, can I add some social data into my cubes? Can I add some social data into my data warehouse? Can I do correlations? Can I build prediction models using what is out there? And sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no, but there is a bunch of information out there in social networks that we can use to do business analytics and to build predictive models. So the goals for this session, and I did a session yesterday about the same topic, we're not going to see the same as yesterday, we're going to see different samples, is for you to understand that you got to store your data right now, because maybe in the future that data is not going to be there. You got to go to your sources and collect all this data and store it somewhere. It could be in the cloud or it could be on-premise, and then on top of that, you got to do some unstructured to structured analytics to move that data to a structured format that you can use in your current business intelligence solution. On top of that, you can start doing machine learning and big data to move from unstructured to structured, and then use machine learning for building predictive models with that social data and build correlations that correlate your existing business intelligence data with your social data. And we're going to see real samples of that. We're going to see some business intelligence for social insights, and we're going to go into different case studies, really short ones, about a restaurant, about political parties, about marketing, or ad placement. I was doing a session yesterday, I'm doing a session today, and I say that the social insight is got data collection, integration and reporting, prediction models, and then actions. Yesterday, we were doing more about collecting data and cleaning the data, and we saw different ways of calculating the tone with dictionaries and with an Azure machine learning model. Today we're going to go more into business intelligence and predictive analytics and the case studies where we can do things using our social data. So this is the social insight cycle where we collect the data, we clean the data, we analyze, we take actions, and because we did something, we make some decisions, or we are using that data, we got to collect the data again, the new information we've got, and start it over and over. So we are socializing by going into some of these social networks and collecting data. And there is social networks out there for almost anything we do. We can ask questions in Stack Overflow, we can go to Instagram and see if we like dogs, or we like cats, or we like to dress in black, or we like to wear hats. There is some information we can gather from there. We can go to newspapers like the BBC or the Financial Times and see what is people is saying about different news stories. We can go to Facebook, or we can go to the Apple Store or the Google Play and see what applications people is downloading out there and collect all that data to start making decisions. So let's go a little bit into detail. And for example, for Amazon reviews, this is not a social network, but there is social information out there. We got an API, we got an application programming interface where we can go and download reviews for books, movies, magazines, and so on. And here we got 4 reviews. This is each book, T-SQL Fundamentals, and one of the reviews says, this book is a must for any beginner. And that's great, because he published 3 books with every release of SQL Server, and this is the fundamentals one. So he can go to social networks or listen to social data and say, okay, I'm right or I'm not right. We got websites like the New York Times, and in this site, we have a story that says why Apple is working on an iWatch and not an eyeglass. And then on the right, we can see that there is 48 comments. Today, there was a game, soccer game, Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and there is a Spanish site that got 25,000 comments. There's not much we can gather from there, but newspapers are dealing with a large amount of information and conversations going on. And they may be talking about my product, my services, or how I'm doing. Microsoft has got 6 million likes in his Facebook page. It's not a lot. There are other companies there with 40 millions. But because these people did a like to Microsoft, Microsoft now can connect to Facebook and go into their profiles and see where they are located, how old they are. Microsoft can see if 2 months later they like Microsoft or they don't. They can collect where they study. So there is a lot of insights you can collect from the activity that is going on about your organizations. There is the marketing guys and the community managers who is delivering the message, and then there is us who we are doing the social insights and gathering information for them, seeing who likes Microsoft, what products they are buying, and what they're saying about us. So let's start with a restaurant demo. When I came to the conference, I went to the lobby restaurant and I asked for a banana. I was there for 2 minutes, and 10 people went there and they bought different things. So I went to the lobby coffee place and I asked for another banana. And then I was looking at the check number and I could see that there are consecutive numbers. So there were 10 checks between my first check and my second check. Today I went there and there's been 5,000 since 3 days ago. So I was kind of spying this place and trying to make sure to know how much they're selling. So I want to open a Michelin star restaurant in Spain. And I cannot go to every single restaurant in Spain and do this to see how good they're doing. I don't know if you are, if you know the Michelin star publication, but what they do is that every year they give 1 star or 2 star or 3 star to restaurants. It's almost impossible to get 1 star, so it's really rare that you've been in a 1 star restaurant or a 2 star or a 3 star. I've never been into a 1 star restaurant. Great. So they want to open a high-end restaurant in Spain, and they want to look what is the best place to open it. And they want to use the concept of gravity. I want to be close to my competitors, so when someone goes to that area, they know they're going to be Michelin stars or really good restaurants over there. So I want to go where they are doing good. So I'm going to do some analysis, and the way to spy my competitors is by going into Foursquare and see social check-ins. So everyone that goes to a restaurant and costs it more than $100 probably does a selfie and put it on Twitter, or does a Foursquare check-in. They're going to say it. You don't do it if you go to McDonald's, but maybe if you go to this type of restaurant, you will do it. So for that, we did build a Power Pivot demo that I'm going to start right here. Ruben Pertusa helped me with this demo, and what I'm doing is a power map right here. takes some time to start, but it will start. Okay. So this starts the tour. So we are seeing right now restaurants in Europe with 1 star, 2 star, and 3 star. There is a lot more restaurants with 1 star. In purple, we got 2 stars, 3 stars, and in orange, we got 2-star restaurants. Now, we can see where restaurants with 3 stars are in Europe. And for Spain, we only find them in close to Barcelona and in the Basque Country. If we come to the US, there are not many restaurants, but there are some in New York and Chicago, and some here in the West Coast. But we're not going to open the restaurant here, too much immigration paperwork. So we are going back to Spain, and we are going to do it in Spain. So for Spain, now we're going to see where the Michelin restaurants are. And in green, we got 1 star. In red, we got 2 stars. And in blue, we got 3 stars. And again, the Barcelona area is the one where we're going to go and open a restaurant. Now, because there is a huge financial crisis in Spain, we want to see how the GDP is doing in different regions in Spain. And we cannot see a lot here, but what we can see is that in Madrid and Barcelona, it's not going down. So it is other areas. So Madrid or Barcelona could be a nice place to open the restaurant, but most of Michelin star restaurants are already in Barcelona. So we're going to Barcelona, and now we're going to Foursquare. And using Foursquare, we are identifying where in Barcelona are those check-ins, and we see that downtown, where Ramblas is where we can find most of the restaurants, and we end up seeing that there is one restaurant that has got most of the check-ins, and in that street, there are a couple of restaurants that are working really well, and I didn't need to do this. So we are going to open that restaurant right there in Valmes Street. So that was a demo for capturing social data and spying my customers, my competitors, sorry, and see how much they're selling or how I can use that. I mean, Microsoft can do it for the Windows Phone or Samsung or iPhone. Everyone that buys an iPhone says, hey, I just got an iPhone. So it's really easy to identify who's got an iPhone, who's got a Samsung, who's got whatever device. Okay, so right now we got Azure Machine Learning, and there is a sample in the gallery. I was introducing Azure Machine Learning yesterday, but I'm pretty much sure you've seen it during the conference, where we are collecting data from user ratings. We are going to those user Facebook accounts, and we are seeing how old they are, if they are married, if they got kids. We can collect all of that from the Facebook profile or looking at their post. And we also have a database with the different restaurant features. So we're going to go, and I'm going to show it with Azure Machine Learning. And this is really short here. I did execute this before, so it's not going to take 10 minutes to execute. We're just going to see the results. And with Azure Machine Learning, I'm able to collect the rating. So I got a user ID, a place ID, and a rating, 0, 1, or 2. Then I've got the customer profile. I got from Facebook and other sources. So I got if they're married, if not, if they drink a lot of alcohol, if they're smokers, if they got kids, when they were born, if they study, a bunch of information about them. And now I also have, from a different source, the different features of the restaurants around the world. So like where they are, in which city or country, and if they are expensive or if they are cheap, if they have a dress code, or if they are familiar restaurants or quiet restaurants, and so on. With that, I was able to divide the set in train and test, and then use the Matchbox recommender for then training the model, and later evaluate the model, so I do suggestions. So right now, I can go and say, hey, you're in California, but you are going to New York, and because this is the type of restaurants you like in California, this is what I got for you in New York. And actually, Google is doing a great job with that information because Delta sends my itinerary to my Gmail. Gmail reads my flight information and is doing suggestion about where I could go, okay? So this is a recommender right here, and after scoring the testing set, we were getting really good results. Unfortunately, for this modeling, the visualization is not great, so it's hard to show how we did, and I didn't build a table for doing that. Yesterday I had one question. Why did you use, yesterday I was doing a model for customer retention that was using tone analysis, and I was using SQL Server data mining, and I got a question from for you, and the question was, when do you use Azure Machine Learning? When do you use SQL Server data mining? What is out there within the Microsoft platform for doing predictive models? And the truth is that we got a bunch of tools right now. We got, since SQL 2000, we got analysis services data mining, and that is part of SQL Server analysis services. And that's what I've been using for the last 8 years. So pretty much I'm using integration services to populate case tables, and on top of that, I create models, and then I can query the models and build reports for whatever my needs are. In SQL 2005, we got an add-in. That's the Excel data mining add-in. And with that, we could connect to SQL Server data mining and kind of do our own self-service predictive models. And now that we got Power Query, it's easy to collect data and build our own models. And I really like SQL Server data mining because we got great visualizations. Now with R, we can easily do visualizations of the output of predictive models, but with SQL Server 2000 and the Excel add-in, I was able to do great visualizations for customers. Like what we were doing before was a recommender. It's not the same problem I'm showing here, but for association rules, we got visualizations that makes a lot of sense. And in this case, this is a model for movie recommendations. And I'm not going to explain this, but I'm just going to show that we got visualization that our customers can understand. So if I did watch Indiana Jones, I end up watching Star Wars, and then I watch all the Star Wars movies, and I can show that associations with this other tool, and I don't have this visualization available in Azure Machine Learning. The good thing about Azure Machine Learning is that it's in the cloud, and there is a bunch of samples there that are great. Yesterday I was showing the sample for calculating the tone, and it's just, I go to the gallery, I create a sample, I understand how that model works, and I could build other models based on the samples I've got in the Azure Machine Learning library. In 2013, Microsoft released HD Insight. That's Hadoop on Azure, and then we got Mout, and Mout is a machine learning library where we can execute predictive models in a Hadoop cluster. That means that the problem is going to be divided into pieces, and each node is going to compute different pieces, so we can deal with large amounts of data. When we're talking about social insights, most of the times we end up using big data tools. And the reason is, yes, there is large amounts of information in social networks, but sometimes we don't have a volume problem, but because big data tools are used to move from unstructured to structured, we got a lot of resources for analyzing tweets or analyzing Facebook posts or analyzing movies or videos. In 2014, Microsoft released forecasting in Power BI, and now in 2014, at the end of 2014, Microsoft released Azure Machine Learning, and in Excel 2016, we're going to have forecasting in Excel. So that's great. So what I was talking before was about store now or never, and this is because there is some tools out there that allow us to download the whole history of Twitter. I'm going to show one in a second, but there are some tools, there are some social networks like Facebook, where they got privacy. So if I'm a friend right now, you can see my profile, but if tomorrow I'm not your friend anymore, you will not be able to see my profile. And that means that you're never going to see it again in the future. So it's either you store that data now and you gather the data now, or you're going to miss it forever. And sometimes some social networks don't allow you to go there and get all the history. So this is GNIP. This is the company I was talking about that has got the whole history for Twitter. So you just got to go there, pay whatever it costs, and you can download all history for Twitter and then use it at your organization. There is something released by Azure, is the Microsoft Azure Social Connectors. And yesterday I was showing how I was connecting to Twitter, and in real time I was storing the tweets in HBase, and later I was doing tone analysis, and I was moving that to Excel and doing a bunch of things. That was kind of complicated, but now with Microsoft Azure Logic Applications and the social connectors, it's so easy for you to gather data from Facebook, to gather data from Twitter, and you can also go ahead and do things like you can publish to Twitter, or you can publish to Facebook, or you can search Facebook or search Twitter. You can search your own profile, another user profile, or a Facebook company page profile. So let me run a demo about this. So this is Azure right here. Try again to connect. Continue. Good. Doesn't like my password. I'll give it another password. Huh. Good. Okay. So I'm going to the new Azure portal, and I'm going to create a logic application right here that is going to get tweets from Twitter, and it's going to store it in a Dropbox folder. So this is my logic app designer, and I'm going to say I want that to happen every hour. And I want you to connect to Twitter, and it's using my credentials. I already set up these social connectors, and I can choose different actions, but what I'm going to do is search for tweets. And I'm going to search for PASS BA conference. Now, I'm going to go and store that tweet in a Dropbox folder. So, I'm going to load the file, tweets in a file, and I'm going to say this is PASS BA live.txt, and I want the Twitter text. So I'm saving this logic application. I'm going to my Dropbox folder. I got nothing right here. So I can wait an hour, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to run it now. And this is the sixth time I execute it. And as you can see, Dropbox is telling me, here you got a file. And if I go to that folder, that got the last tweet. Thing is this one right here. Just drop by GenStir session is a full house. So GenStir session is full right now, and we just got this tweet out of Twitter and just moved it to a Dropbox location. What I like from this solution right here is that it looks like a toy. I'm going here and I'm connecting to Twitter, or I can connect to Facebook, or I can connect to Jammer. And this is really simple interface, but it's got a programming API behind the scenes. And I can move that into an Azure location or into a Dropbox location, and then start my analysis from there, or move the data into Azure Machine Learning and build my predictive models from there.
Why did you only pull in one tweet?
Because I only told it to do it one tweet. Okay? Oh, no, in this, there is no option. If you want to pull more tweets, well, there are different workarounds for that. One of the ways you can do is, instead of having this box right here starting the process, I can go and let me delete this. This action, and I can go and say that Twitter is the one that started the process every time a new tweet arrives. So that way, every time there is a tweet, I will get a new file. And I haven't worked much with this because it's pretty new. I don't know if I can have more than one tweet in a single file. But if I wanted to download more than one tweet, one way to do it is, instead of me executing every hour, just getting tweets every time there is a new tweet for a keyword or for an account. Go ahead. Well, you got your limitations. Well, one thing is the Azure connector, social connector, and one thing is what Twitter allows you to do. With Twitter, you can query the history and do search and download large amount of tweets, but there are some limitations. You cannot get the whole history. With this component here, you pretty much do the same you can do with the API, but the layout here may not allow you to do it, but you can go behind the scenes and do your programming to get it. So this is like a cool wizard to start doing it. Great. Okay, so one of the questions I get from organization is there something for me? Can I use social networks to gain competitive advantage? My answer is that in most cases, yes. If you're doing business to consumer, you are interacting with consumers, and in that case, it's, there will be something in social networks for you, but if not, you can probably use what is in social networks to make better decisions and use it to improve the way you are dealing with your customers or the decisions you're making. But one of the questions I also get is will it be serious? I can go there and gather data, but is it going to be worth? Or how accurate is to do tone analysis? Or how much I can rely on what people is saying in social networks, because there is too much spam. Well, after you clean all that spam and you really are getting information from your users, I pretty much believe that you can rely. But Microsoft released a paper for predicting postpartum depressions in women. So it was very interesting. I have a 5-month daughter, and right after the delivery, we went to the doctor, and the doctor asked my wife, when something bad happened, is it your fault or is it your husband's fault? And she said, it's my husband's fault. And I said, well, and she said, shut up. I said, okay. So the doctor was like, okay, you're fine. Well, Microsoft released a research paper that is called Predicting Postpartum Changes in Emotion and Behavior Using Social Media. And what they were doing is they were monitoring 376 mothers before the delivery and after the delivery, and they are able to call if there will be significant changes in social behavior right after childbirth. And they can predict that with 71% accuracy. That's very big. And they can use that to predict if they are going to they may end up with a depression. Of course, you're not going to use social networks. I mean, you're not going to rely only on this. But maybe next time you go to your doctor, they will say, hey, can I have your Twitter account? Because this is going to give me one extra key performance indicator about how you're doing. Because there is people, what this study does is, according to how you were before, you are more likely to have these postpartum changes that may correlate to a depression. So I'm not saying that they're not saying, hey, start using this, but there's other people doing some research on top of this paper to use it for medical purposes. So let's see one more sample. We're going to see different case studies here. One is cash tag. In Twitter, if I use the dollar symbol, I'm referring to a company in the stock market. So $AAPL means Apple in the stock market. So I can start reading what they're saying about different companies and but use it for my investment strategy. And investing firms are using it to build reports. Pretty much what they're doing is they're watching for volume, but they are trying to correlate stock prices increases and decreases with words and phrases and frequencies. So I don't know if you were in my session or you've seen the Azure machine learning for calculating tone. What they're doing is they're using this thing right here, that sad face, and they are downloading a full database. I mean, they're loading a bunch of tweets that contain a happy smile and a sad smile, an emoticon right there. And they are looking for words and expressions that have a smile and words and expressions that have a sad face. And with that, they're saying, hey, when you say kill, that refers to a negative tone. And with that, they are able to score tweets that don't contain that sad face or smile. What we could do, what they're doing for investment is, I got all those tweets like, I'm buying AAPL, Apple is big today, Apple good sales predictions, iPhone selling good in the UK. And then, instead of having a happy smile or a bad smile, they go to the history in the stock market and see if that day it went up 5% or it went down 5%, like in this other case. Apple stock problem with watch. Apple selling now, short Apple. Google Play #1, and they say Apple. And then that day, it went down. So they're using this expert knowledge to build a machine learning model and then test the model. And maybe the model is only 65% of the time that's the right predictions. But that is better than random. And being better than random sometimes is good enough. So right now, this business analyst can go and they have a report in a screen and they say, okay, I know what's going on with Apple, I know what's going on for Microsoft, but hey, watch this stock because there is a lot of activity and my model is telling me that it's going to go down 5%. My model may not be right, but sometimes it's right. So I have a new metric here that I could use. Go ahead. Well, there are a bunch of models out there for investing. I was just showing this piece right here. But one of the models that is out there that doesn't consider social media is, let's look at the history and identify which stocks are going to increase by 3%. And they're saying, okay, before dividends, stock is high. As soon as they announce it, it goes down. On Friday, the stock market goes high if it was low on Monday and Tuesday. So there are other models out there for predicting that. It doesn't work, but they use it a lot. Okay, so that was just sample there using social data to predict the stock market. All right, so there is a big difference between us, the data scientists or people that try to get social insights, and people who is doing marketing and community managers. What they want to do is they want to deliver the message in the right place and get more likes, more followers, more tweets, more mentions, more Facebook likes. And what we want to do is go to social networks and get insights. But we can communicate to each other and we can help each other because they can tell us where our data is and we can tell them how to perform better. So we got presidential election coming, and we did this demo for a customer. It wasn't in the US, but I did modify a little bit for the US. And this is kind of a scorecard for the US and the Republican Party and the Democrats. And what this is doing is downloading all the tweets and showing it in an Excel scorecard. And as you can see, Obama is the one that is most mentioned, then followed by Hillary Clinton, and then other members of the Democrats. If I go to the Republican Party, I get other stats. Because we know how to do tone analysis, I got a Power View report right here, where here I have a score for the tone, more negative and more positive, and then here I got volume of tweets by day. This is the Republicans and this is the Democrats. If I click play, I can see that the Democrats have a higher tone and a higher volume, and in this case, the Republicans has got a more negative tone and a little bit less of volume. When I was looking at the tweets, I was seeing that there were a lot of tweets related to war in the Republican Party, but that, I mean, it's negative, but it's not negative in the context they are talking, so maybe we had to use different dictionaries depending on the party, all right? But this is good for them to make decisions and see how they are performing. We also have another report right here that is account profile, and for Barack Obama, he's got 41 million followers. That was 1 year ago. Most of the mentions had a negative tone. Well, most of them have negative tone. People normally tweet because they want to say something bad about someone. So most of the times it's all negative tone, and we can see that some people here is happy, just use my Obamacare for the first time, and this guy here is happy about that. So going back to the slide, this is really useful information for this presidential campaign. Why? Because I can see what are the hot topics, who of my members are performing well, and if I have a huge message to deliver, I can say, okay, you are delivering the message for the Hispanic community, or you are delivering the message for technology, or for health. And we can do some social insights and tell the marketing people and the community managers what hashtags or what people to mention. So when they are doing all the marketing strategy, they can get twice as much followers as if they were not using social media insights. Because that way you can, I don't know, mention an influencer, so then your message is going to deliver to more people, and that may be useful for you. Ad placement. We're using social networks a lot for ad placement. We are all familiar with the remarketing concept. That means I'm looking for a flight to New York, and I don't end up buying the flight. But then I'm doing browsing around, and the only thing I see is Expedia commercials for flights to New York. Great. Well, we can do more than that. And if you were in the keynote speaker has got a book that is called Visualization for Dummies. I'm pretty much sure that someone today bought the book. They went to Amazon and said, okay, I like the keynote, so I'm going to buy that book. Because Amazon sometimes asks you for your Twitter account, Amazon can go now to Twitter and say, and look what you're talking about, and they can find past business analytic conference. And they have also me, and they have a cookie for me, and they know who I am by Twitter. And I also like the past business analytic conference. So they are able to, because this other guy who is in the same conference as I am, and we are talking about the same thing in Twitter, they are showing me the commercial. So they are using social networks to find customers like this one who just bought the book, and do it the ad placement for them. And the fun thing is that you can do it with Azure. I mean, with Azure, you can start downloading tweets, and then you can connect to the Bing Ads API and publish that ad straightforward to that person, because you got your remarketing list with cookies. Well, this concept is a little bit complex, but it's really interesting. So the 4 Bs, I was mentioning it before. When we are doing social listening, not most of the time, but sometimes we got a large volume, we got information coming really fast in different formats, and the formats are changing. So big data may be a solution for that. Sometimes, as I said before, not because of the volume, but because we got a set of tools and libraries out there to move text into structured information. We can put all our Facebook pages in HBase, and from there move it into a Hive table, and then use it with a Power Pivot table connected to a Hive table. So look for big data tools when you are doing social listening. This is kind of a really simple architecture, and I always show this when I'm talking about social listening, because this is what starts projects. That means having your business insights in an Excel spreadsheet. So we are connecting to all of these social networks. We are structuring our data, calculating the tone, or calculating whatever we need. And then once we have all clean jigs of data, we are structuring that, and we have it in our data warehouse as a fact table. Because in our data warehouse, we can add a new fact table that is likes, or followers, or tone, and it's right there. And normally when people is doing a tweet or a Facebook post, there is a location, there is a time, there is a product they're talking about. They're talking about the iPhone, or they're talking about a restaurant. And there is also a customer that we may have in our data warehouse, or we may not have in our data warehouse. So I'm showing a report here really quick. If you were in the session yesterday, you've seen this already, but this is something that really triggers my customers to start moving social data to their pivot tables. Here I've got analysis by country, and I have my sales amount, and I can go down and add the tone. So I have percentage of positive tweets by region, or I can go and have percentage of positive tweets by products. Or I can have a correlation and see that when the tone is high, I'm selling more, but they're talking bad about my products, so I can forecast what I'm going to sell in 2015 based on what they're saying right now about my services. So this looks like a really, really simple demo, but just think that in your organization, if they're using pivot table, this is something you can do tomorrow. You can go there, download, and gather all this social data and move it into your pivot table. And this is not a correlation. This is not doing predictive analytics, but they can start playing with your different key performance indicators that you may have for social networks. So it may be useful for you. Okay, so the Azure offering, I'm really happy with Azure. Actually, I'm pretty much doing everything in Azure. In minutes, in a couple of minutes, I can have a HD Insight cluster with 3, 4, 5 nodes. Now I can use the social connectors. Now I have machine learning in Azure. So what I'm saying here is that most of the times you're doing proof of concept before you start a real project. Thanks to Azure machine learning, you're going to have, you're able to do the whole solution and start your project in minutes. I've broken so many machines. Like, I mean, I think this is the laptop I had the longest, And this is because I have Azure. Because before, I was processing SQL Server analysis services, data mining models, during nights and nights. So the fan got crazy and the CPU was high for, I don't know, 48 hours. And I end up having a server somewhere for doing the processing. So the only thing I do right now is I want an HD Insight cluster with 32 nodes. Here is the problem. Try to solve it. And if it works, great. We're going to buy the whole solution. If it doesn't work, we just throw it away, and we spend almost no money. So this is cool for social listening and predictive analytics. So to wrap up, remember, look for your data. So think about what your business problem is and in which social networks your data may be related to your product, services, or what the decisions you are making, and store it now. Don't wait for 2 years because your data is not going to be there in 2 years. Once you store it, keep it like it is, but also structure that information. When you structure, you are losing a lot of information because in most cases you're saying, okay, I don't need this, or I don't need the pictures, or I don't need the videos, or I don't need the MP3s, and maybe in 2 years you will be able to do tone analysis by looking at people's faces, not only looking to the text. So store that information, structure it, move it to your data warehouse, make it available for your pivot tables to have indicators from social networks, start doing correlations to see if, hey, do I sell more because people talk about me? Should I release a new application for the iWatch? Is it worth for me? Or should I go to Google Play? How much is my competitor selling? I want to know how much of this restaurant over here is selling compared to this other, because these guys just released this new thing, and I want to know how they're doing. And when you're doing those correlations, try to use them. And there are companies out there that say, hey, I'm spending $20,000 today in ads, web ads, in California. And I pretty much don't know who am I targeting my advertisement to. So using these tools, maybe you can go and say, hey, out of 100 clicks, now I have 5% conversion rate compared to 2%, and that's a big thing for me. So try to use it to then collect data from social networks again and get insights. Great. So that was it. Go ahead. Well, okay, so yeah, let's go for customer retention. So let's say you are working with an insurance company, and this is a sample I was talking yesterday. You're working with an insurance company, and people call your insurance company, and they're saying, I don't like your product, or I had this problem. They're also saying it in Twitter. So right now, you are trying to predict which customers are not going to renew the insurance. And you are calling them. So out of 100 calls, you are able to do customer retention for 89 or 90. Now you add all of this information, you build a prediction model, and it tells you every day with a report which customers you should call because these are the most likely to leave your insurance. So what you do is you move your data and build your case tables, move it to the cloud, or have it on-premise in your organization with SQL Server analysis services, and then build the model and use it. So we have two options, cloud-based or on-premise, and you can use either one. Okay, thank you. Cool. Any other question?
How do you go about the process of defining tone?
Okay. So we did the full session yesterday for that, so maybe you can watch the recording, but anyway. So we can use dictionaries. So if I say, I like the Windows Phone, and then I have a dictionary that says that when I say the word like, that's good. So if I find like, that means it's good. But then you can have phrase level polarity. And I can say, I don't like the Windows Phone. So with that, you can use frequency of terms or use a natural language processing in order to try to find the tone of that tweet. What we're doing in most of cases, we're working with volume of tweets. So let's say we had 1,000 tweets, they're talking about the Windows Phone, and we find that 80% are positive, okay? Yes, maybe it's not 80%, maybe it's 70%, but because we are saying most of them are positive, we believe there is a positive tone there. Okay, go ahead. Yep. All right. Great. Go ahead.
Is there a service or a tool that lets you take Twitter feeds? So let's imagine that you've taken a search based off some sort of a term. We then want to take the 100 tweets that came back and break out every single word for that tweet. So if you have a sentence, this is a sentence. Put in this is a sentence. And then if you move through each one of the tweets, he starts counting how many words, how many tweets have the word this in, how many times does sentence appear, and if there's any word used in the previous tweet, starts looking for basically frequency analysis.
Yeah. I was showing it yesterday that the session was more about tone analysis, but I'm going to show it really quick. I have another experiment right here. And if I go to my studio, there you go, home, I have a model right here, and you can go to Azure Machine Learning and run the sample. And what this is doing is using R to break the tweets in different words, and then it's doing future hashing. So it's breaking the tweets in expressions like, don't like, of one sentence or one word or 2 words or 3 words, and then it's using a 2-vector classification matching right here to correlate which words are more frequent in positive tone tweets and negative tone tweets. And this is for calculating tone, but for example, investment firms are looking for words that relate to stock markets going high or going down. So yes, there is a bunch of text mining techniques you can use from tweets, break it into pieces, and then do those frequencies. And that's what is used by political parties to say, hey, I got here 20,000 tweets that is talking about healthcare. What are they talking about? Are they talking about it's expensive, is unfair, is fair, is cheap, is great? So you can see and build a cloud of tags of what they're talking about used on those frequencies too. So what's your tool? Your tool is R. It's probably Azure Machine Learning for breaking it into pieces. Cloud tools, but I mean, you can do it with a script in integration services or in SQL Server, or you can do it in Power Query. So there are many different places where you can do that. Great. Okay, any other question? Well, the demo I was doing yesterday and the one I'm doing I was doing today is they are demos that are in the Azure Machine Learning Gallery. So you just go to azureml.com, and right now it's free, and say, I want to run this sample. And it runs it with your own subscription, your free subscription at this point, and you can see all the stuff you're seeing right there. Which one? Oh no, that one is a demo I did. a demo we did for a customer in Europe, and they end up buying the solution. Okay, but it's just a different story. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much. Hope you enjoy. My email is pacosql.com. No, paco@solidcube.com. So feel free to email me if you have any questions.